Is back on the stand at the State Capture Commission. He testified that Transnet made a fraudulent R7.5 million payment to Gupta-linked Regiment Capital. Bloom said it was unclear why Transnet had made the payment, even though it had appointed JP Morgan to do a cross-currency swap and not Regiment Capital. For more on the inquiry, we cross to our reporter Mbali Mthethwa. A very good afternoon to you, Mbali. What's just happened?
Good afternoon, Zinga. We've heard two transactions come to take center stage rather here at the Commission. The one transaction is a loan that Transnet got from what they call a ZAR club loan, which is basically a loan of 12 billion rand that they got from a consortium of local banks. Now, the point of contention in that loan agreement is an interest rate swap. The first time we heard about an interest rate swap was when acting CEO Mohammed Mohammadi appeared before this commission, and he talked about how they had initially agreed on a floating interest rate, but 3 days after they'd received the loan, a decision by Patolo Ramasibudi had he made the decision that they should convert it from a floating interest rate to a fixed interest rate. And we heard Dr. Bloom explaining to the commission that those who had made the decision that that Transnet should go ahead with an interest rate swap had taken a 2-year view, and in those 2 years they were expecting the interest rate to increase, and therefore for that reason it was in the interest of Transnet to then hedge against the risks that are associated with high interest rates. But he also told the commission that it was not necessary for Transnet to enter into that interest rate swap, saying that the interest rates have not really increased to the levels that were anticipated initially. And he's basically saying that the only company that stood to benefit from this transaction was the Gupta-linked company called Regiment Capital. Now, he also mentioned that Transnet had the capacity, the internal capacity, to facilitate this interest rate swap. And he says that any amounts that were paid to Regiment Capital were unjustifiable and unfounded. Now, we've heard of a number of irregular payments that were made to Gupta-linked companies. We also hear of another further R7.5 million that is paid to this Gupta-linked company. And this was for a cross-currency swap. Now, the cross-currency swap comes into play in the loan agreement between Transnet and the China Development Bank. And a cross-currency swap basically means that you are hedging against extreme currency fluctuations, which would make it difficult for Transnet to pay and honor its loan to the China Development Bank. And he says that the R7.5 million that was paid for that was rather unnecessary. And he says that they were there, Regiment's Capital, that is, was there to arrange this so-called cross-currency swap. So we've heard about all of these irregularities and large amounts that were paid to Gupta-linked companies for what seems to be no apparent reason and unjustifiable reasons. And it almost as though the witnesses are painting a picture as though decisions were made in the interest of these Gupta-linked companies and in the interest of enriching them, and there's no reason, there's no benefit to Transnet. After the break, we will continue with the testimony to hear testimony from Dr. Bloom, who will explain further as to what else happened and transpired at Transnet. It's back to you in studio for now.
Mbali Mthethwa giving us an update from the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture that's taking place in Johannesburg in Parktown. It's time for a short break.